Hey, what's up, you guys? So, this stream became a medical emergency for me because I am fresh from the wonderful, fabulous land of Twitter, and there is a trend about the French president, whom, out of respect, I will not attempt to pronounce his name in his native language because I cannot speak French to save my life. But um he's trending right now because he called out a teenager, or I should say, coached him on the proper way to address him, which is Mr. President for you. And I absolutely failed at linking in the description before hitting the go live button to give you a link to this trend. I'll do that when I conclude the stream. But basically, he was like, do not call me Manu because, I'm the president and today's date represent something important in France, and therefore you have to uh, display respect, and I'm also the president. So once you earn a degree and you know is a nobody, to put it in blunt terms. And then prior to this, I got the idea to discuss this topic anyway about how I feel about titles in society because maybe 4 or 5 days ago on the wonderful land of Twitter, there was another trend about the woman. And then in this of them was a woman who has a degree, she is a doctor and whatever, and then she was telling a story in which people guys apparently look at her hand very often and they do not see a ring, so they proceed to ask her, is it? And then I'm like, I get it. You worked hard. You did your homework, just like the president of France. You went to university. You did your homework. God knows how many sleepless nights you had. You worked hard. You made your good grades. But I feel like you let that stuff get to your brain. Like you let the fumes get to you. And it's, how can I say this? It's just something that I don't value personally so much. So as a decided to not go to school or further my education and earn a degree, I am a nobody. Basically, my value is a very little to none. I guess I will never understand the pleasure, the taste, the satisfaction that comes with being a person who has a title, a name, a degree, prestige. So I could care fucking you haven't gone through the process and put in the effort and hard work that it takes to be a somebody in society. And all I want to say is, why do people feel like you have to please others? Like, I get it, a degree may help you advance faster in life. But I don't know about you, but when developed countries have challenges that so called underdeveloped countries don't have, for instance, consider our priorities a little bit. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not educated. I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. I don't have any substance. I don't have a platform to stand on, really. But I'm just saying, I think people need to reconsider some things and your priorities and values. maybe could use a little bit of amendment, especially if you feel like you have to correct people on the way to address you when there are people out there who are hungry, there's people out there being rushed to the hospital, there's people out there who are just sick. I get it because this is the representative of an entire republic, I guess. You know, we always gotta call him the president, refer to him as the president, and whatever. But it's just it's just so difficult for me. I cannot political aspects like that, like actual titles based on your status. Like I'm not married, so therefore you gotta call me Miss Samri. I'm not going to feel offense to that, but at the same time, I would prefer for you to just call me plain Zamri because I was born very unmarried, and it does not need to be established that I'm a baby girl, and you need to call me Miss Zamri because I'm fresh out of the womb and I'm not married. To me, that's ridiculous. Nobody calls a baby by their title, right? Which is your natural. When this teen referred to the president as Manu, to me, I look at nicknames as endearments unless you're obviously being insulted with a nickname specifically. Like, not everyone has the same intention with nicknames. But to me, if someone calls me a nickname, especially one in which my name is altered, to me, I find that as a sweet gesture. But I guess a person in his position, a position of power, cannot really embrace that. And I get it because the image he's trying to show is that I have a title, I run this country, you have to address me because you're a teen and you owe me respect because I'm an authority figure in your life and you are a nobody. Earn your degree and get to my level, and then we may consider some things. To me, that's just ridiculous. You're not any better. You're not any more special just because you have a title. I am sorry, but in my eyes, you can be the best singer in the world. You can be the best artist. You can be the winner of I don't know how many Oscars. You can be the president. You can be, I don't care. You are going to be just a person to me. And it's not that I want to be rude. It's not that I don't want to give you respect. It's just that my are just different. And I remember when I was a teen, and there were some people who I gave titles to. A lot of my teachers, only one teacher objected to the nickname that I had given them. And when I think about it, this particular teacher was a teacher that wasn't very experienced. So I think this teacher might have felt like if I don't address them in a certain way, they may lose control because they're the authority figure. So therefore, I need to be in like a submissive stage. And I get it. It's important to be, what do you say, respectful in society and have your manners and courtesy home and you do not behave your certain way. I just hate that when you're out in public, there's this protocol that you must follow. There's this image that you have to portray. And it's like I was telling someone a moment ago about how when you see a couple and you get used to seeing these two people being a couple, you're like, oh, there go my favorite lovebirds or something, because that's what you want to associate them with. That's how you want to see them as. But then the moment they split, they're like, oh, I would not have imagined that of you. I thought everything was fine. Same thing with these leaders. Same thing with these people who have those prestigious titles. It's like, yeah, in the outside, they appear to be these figures of integrity and power and control and leadership, all those personality traits and qualities that we're just used to associating with successful people. But then when disaster strikes in their lives, that's when we go, oh, this person had challenges. This person has issues. What? But they're so and so. They accomplish so much. They have so much money. Their net worth is millions and millions. How is this happening? Again, this is all man made. This bullshit of titles. This is all man made. I cannot get behind all that because it's not important. At the end of the day, just do not physically, emotionally, nor mentally abuse me, and you'll be okay. We'll be okay. We will have no issues. But but when it comes to titles, I mean, if you have your talents, I will acknowledge them. But I cannot put you on a pedestal just because you have a name attached to you. It's not important to me. I'm not impressed by that shit. Put it that way. It's very, very, very hard to impress me in this life. And honestly, it's very easy to impress me when it comes to, like, in order for me to be impressed, what you need to do is so basic. There's this one incredible person out there who has demonstrated to be the human being with just the most perfect quality attached to them. And I'm just impressed by them. The sincerity, the memory, retention, all that stuff. To me, that's impressive because a lot of people these days do not give, um, they do not display those traits, which are very basic. But the fact that this individual consistently demonstrate that toward me, I'm like, I'm impressed in some type of way. I would say that they can be some of the worst people out there, and let me explain. Corruption. A lot of these people end up being corrupted. Am I supposed to really be respectful and devoted to the person who wears a white collar, shirt or something, and they have an appearance of being business people? Or should I trust the person who works hard and their hands are dirty, but they supply for their family in a very humble and just manner that's full with dignity? I don't know about you, but to me, I would value the second person more, especially when their labor is intense. So I don't know, you guys. This is just my opinion, of course. These are my feelings. I'm not saying that I am right. I'm not saying I have the answers to everything. I'm not saying that my way is the way of the truth or the ultimate correct way to look at things. I'm just voicing it. And if you ever wonder why I do not follow protocol so much, it's because I know how to live a very stress free life. And I also happen to not be very socially invested, so I couldn't possibly tell you what it's like for me to manifest myself in a formal setting. Like, to me, one of my biggest fears is being at a dinner date to where there's like those 700 dishes in front of me, and I'm supposed to figure out the proper manners when it comes to eating and all that. I'm like, no, I'm going to use the same fork on everything, you know? And I have no issues with eating on plastic containers. I don't need that stuff to be impressed. Don't give me fancy stuff, because if you expect for me to just be mind blown, I probably will not be. So yeah, you guys, that pretty much concludes my rambling. I know someone has been commenting, so whatever. Um, Teen has a lack of respect for his elders. Aha, you mentioned something that I happened to mention. Look, man, I had someone tell me that very line to me one time. They were like, you need to respect your elders. And I'm like, I'm sorry. How am I not respecting you again? And I made a video about this person, but basically, respect because I'm not being, I wasn't allowing for him to disrespect me and walk all over me. And it was because this person had an interest in me in that way. And I was very rightfully so not giving in to him because it's wrong and I'm already committed. Stop bugging me in that manner. I'm not comfortable with it, and I already told you the reason, and you will not succeed. So please refrain from that. And he was like, oh, you need to respect your elders. And I'm like, I will respect whomever earns my respect. And you may be 700 years old, but you do not have my respect. You simply cannot demand that from me. You have to earn that shit. So if you would like that, how about if you treat me respectfully? It's not hard. I've never been rude to you. Just because I'm not complying with something that you want from me doesn't make me rude. It just makes me a person who is respectful to herself. What's wrong with that? So, in the case of the president and this teenager, I get it. Teens are crazy. We do, like, when we're young, we just do crazy stuff like that. And I'm 50-50 when it comes to the way he did it, or when it comes to this situation in particular, because first of all, he is a public figure. All eyes and lenses, camera lenses are on him. So now everyone knows who this kid looks like. So, social media has a lot of power, if you ask me. So now I am worried about this kid's safety. That's one. And second of all, he addressed it in like a coaching way, which I understand that teens may need some discipline, something about courtesy and respect and stuff like that. But at the same time, I cannot help but keep telling myself this is just a young person. And I know that those are the years when it's crucial to correct stuff about your behavior, to correct you on stuff that you're doing. That is like, I don't care about protocol and society's standards. That side of me says, leave the kid alone and don't let the fumes get to you. Do not take life so seriously. You have, I guess that the culture over there is that you have to present some kind of an image and at all costs be all about politeness and manners, and I get it. You can be polite, but when it comes to respecting a title like that, just don't take life so seriously, dude. I get it. The whole world knows you and you have a lot of power, but I feel like you're giving importance to something that doesn't have it. Realistically doesn't have it. I'm mommy, I'm mom, this and that, so you just get used to it. But honestly, I don't feel like me referring to my mom. Tell you the truth, when I describe him, I sometimes use the nickname that everyone knows him by, as opposed to calling him dad, because I did not grow up with him much. in fact, at all. So I am not used to saying dad or daddy. That connection. So you cannot expect for me to call him that when everyone around me who would talk about him would call him by his nickname. So it's like I have not been trained on how to address him in any other way that is not his nickname. So implemented it into my conscience to call him dad, but I do not feel attachment to him as a father because he just wasn't there. We don't have that connection. And that's all right. I mean, it's messed up that it happened to me, but it's okay. I'm not sweating the fact that it's just weird that we're making a big deal out of something that I don't see it saving any lives. I don't see it improving the quality of anyone's lives. There's more, and that is not one of them. You might say, oh, but Zam, if you teach the younger generation proper manners, that will keep them um, at bay and make them better citizens and whatnot. And I'm like, I mean, what can I say? People who have prestige with titles and junk, they commit crimes too. You know, we're not saving lives with this. That's why I'm saying I cannot take this seriously. I cannot sweat this. But of course, if there's anyone out there who disagrees with me, which there will be, you're welcome to. But like I said, this is not going to change my life in any way. Had I been the one that the president is like, worse, but I'm not the kind of person who, when I meet a celebrity, I lose my crap. I just don't. That stuff doesn't impress me. So, anyways, let's see. I was born in the 80s, so I have seen where society has went wrong, mostly the generation younger than me. Exactly. Succeeds you. I say that about the generation that succeeds me. The generation that precedes you says that trash about you. So it's going to be the same cycle, the same pattern of the new generation is worse and getting worse and getting worse. Well, in a situation like that, I like to recur to a really good quote that I read some 6 years ago. And it is when old people try to give you hell over how bad your generation is, remind them who raised it. So, 80s kids did not raise 90s kids, I hope. But then there have been instances in which parents rely on the elder siblings to take care of the younger siblings. So, if have a sibling from the 90s, you at some point probably had an influence on that child. So, in a sense, you, as the immediate preceding generation, based on the decade that you were born in, you had something to do with the problem. So, if you were not teaching the values, this child to develop that and retain that and practice that. I'm just saying, like, I know many of my classmates at the time who would say that at some point their siblings took care of them because their parents had to work and babysitting is expensive. I get it. But basically, there's always going to be that scapegoat that we're looking for. And I'm like, you gotta be careful because no matter what you do, if you're looking for someone to blame, it somewhere, somehow, it will backfire at you. So that's all I gotta say. Well, guys, like always, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that this is the right way to think. This is just how I am. If you ever wonder how I'm so upbeat when it comes to things like this is what it is. This is what's in my mind. This is my opinion. This is how I manifest myself. I promise you that if we were to have a one on one, you will have my respect. Naturally, I respect everybody. But if you expect for me to address you by your title in society, I'm probably not going to honor it because I am not trained to be doing that. Um, I was also never a member of an a university to be exposed to people with titles like that either. Basically, I have stuck around to where I'm at. So I don't know. It's a habit that I would need to create. And honestly, if I don't create it, I'm all right with that. If you want to associate, but always remember that normally our preconceived notions about people are wrong. So if you're going to associate me with your first encounter with me and your first impression of me, I'll probably disappoint you. And if I do, I'm still gonna go to bed tonight. I'm gonna sleep well. I'm still gonna eat and I'll eat deliciously. So my life will keep going. That's what I'm trying to say. I agree. There were a lot of people who grew up in the 80s who have failed the younger generation. You are right. It will get worse. The teens today think they know more than people 2+ decades older. And in a situation like that, I get it. There is stuff that at the time that you were young, some information was not available to you. So kids tend to learn what's been discovered and present that, whereas you were in the stage of discovering. So, what I'm trying to say is, have you ever met someone who believes that the world has looked the same, been the same, and just been here the whole time? And they don't think about how implementing it, building it. Like, let's take roads, for example. Someone had to think about, we have cars now. How can we establish a pathway for them for it to be safe so that they don't break down and people don't get hurt? Someone had to think about developing the road, creating the route, it. Someone had to come up with the transit laws and the symbols, design it. All of that shit took work. It took time. It took effort. If you were born 50, 60 years later after that, you were born at a time when it was done, when it was finished, developed. You were not in the building stage of this. Or it's the same thing when you start a relationship in, let's say, your 30s. The challenges that you had when you were a younger person trying, you probably have your own home and your own car, all those goodies that make relationships more likely to succeed. But as a younger person, it's particularly challenging to stay in a relationship and make it work because you're in a building stage yourself. My earliest relationships sucked. A car would have fixed a lot of my problems, but it came way later, years later. And now, presently, my challenges in a relationship are absolutely different to what I experienced as a younger person. So, in society, when you're born in a later generation, it's like you'll encounter the previous generation had other issues that were being resolved, and by the time you arrive, it has been resolved, or it's one step closer to being resolved. That's the difference. So, I don't know, you guys. I like to think that I'm a person who's pretty aware of stuff. I know I'm not perfect, but like I said, when I pick something to battle, I make sure that it's a wise battle, and a lot of things just don't require a lot of effort for me. So, you guys make sure that you worry about yourself, mind your business, and accountable for yourself. And do not live to please others. Please don't. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I think I'm going to wrap it up here because I really do not have anything else to add at this point. Like always, let me know your thoughts for the folks of you who will catch me at a later time, and I'll see you soon. Yeah, yeah.